Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. A warm welcome to this session, Defne. Pleasure to have you here for KLF. Uh, the book is titled Summer Heat, and I think we can all feel it in Kozhikode, but glad that we are next to the beach. Uh, so obviously my first question to you is, when I picked up your book, Summer Heat, the title is very evocative in its imagery. Is it because you have a special affinity for summer, or you have some memorable experiences that you connect with summer? Could you tell us about that?
Well, thank you so much. Well, it's an honor to be here. Kerala Literature Festival has been my dream festival. Even before I write books, when I was a reader, I was always looking and seeing my favorite authors taking place in the Kerala Literature Festival, and I couldn't even imagine that one day I will be speaking here to you all on this beach. Like I can't believe my luck. So thank you so much for being here. Summer, I don't like summer at all. Summer is my least favorite. Like even as a child, I didn't like summer. So when I started writing this book, it begins on a summer day, and she's going to the city, to the center of the city, and she's sweating and she's like cursing herself. Why did I do that? So it doesn't start with like lovely memories of summer. It already starts with like the bad parts of summer. And then many people who read this book ask me, which summer are you talking about when you say summer heat? Because there are many summers in the book, and in all of them something heaty, something hot happens that is connected to blood, that is connected to fight, that is connected to death sometimes. So all of those things. But, well, we're gonna leave it at that. So it's many summers. The reader, and we have to also say that this book is not only available in English, but it's also available in Malayalam. So you can actually just get it and start reading after our talk. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. To start with, okay, after summer, the first thing that came to my mind is the overarching presence of art in your novel. Because the protagonist, Mellike, she comes to as an art historian.
Art historian,
right?
Yes.
So, and she kind of makes peace with her life, her family, the secrets, all through the lens of art as an art historian. Is there a particular reason why you chose that theme? You thought it would be more helpful for her to navigate the life's complexities because of the...
Well, when you decide, well, when I start writing and I have a character, I have a whole chart of their birthday, their horoscope, where did they, their favorite food, what primary school they go to, and all those things. And inevitably, you have to decide on their profession, like what they studied at university, and then what are they doing now. So it was a little bit necessity of the plot, because Melike, our narrator and the main character of the Summer Heat, she meets with a very handsome stranger, the first page of the book. This is how it begins. And this handsome stranger, he's a foreigner, and he writes her an email, and in the email he says, I am doing a research on the old Byzantium churches, so I need your expertise. Can you help me? So for that, I needed to have a profession that will connect her, and that's why I picked art historian. That was more the necessity of the plot.
Okay. And before we delve deeper into the bigger themes that you have explored in the novel, while you were talking, you said, this is described as the sexiest of your novels.
Not me, the readers.
Yes, the critics. Yes, but why would you think that this is the sexiest of your novels? And also, how has been the writing process different from your previous novels to this one?
Well, it is chosen as the sexiest of my novels, and not because there is the most sex in it, there is some, but it's basically my only novel that really focuses on female desire and female pleasure. So it's, we have a woman who is looking to fill a void inside of herself, and in order to, like a part that is disconnected in herself, something strange alienation. So she's trying to figure out, or not even figure out actually, she's trying to satisfy that emptiness. And so she thinks maybe sexuality is the way, maybe being a mother is the way. So she's in search, and therefore there's a lot of questioning what is desire made out of. And as we all know, female desire is more layered than a male's desire, which is urgent and clear, whereas female desire is more obscure and more layered and harder to satisfy in a way. So that's why I guess the questioning of the desire and pleasure and the freedom of a woman, like a sexual freedom of a woman, is questioned and talked about in this book. So that got the reputation of the sexiest book.
All right. Okay. So talking about Melike, a lot about this novel is where she is seeking, as you said, pleasure and, the nuances of it. But it's also about seeking her identity, her family's identity. So I have a question regarding identity. That's something which we all, sometimes have to struggle with. We have our identity, which we get from our families, from our culture, from even your nationality. But there is also a separate identity that you seek for yourself, like everybody.
Yeah.
So how did you want Melike to kind of navigate that both, those both kind of identities that she has?
Well, first of all, like I said before, my starting point was that empty space. And I'm showing here because I think I feel my emptiness here. So I don't know other people. But Melike has like this emptiness that she's searching ways. And that was my starting point. And from that point, I realized that all loneliness we feel, all that sensation of loneliness is coming from disconnection. From disconnect from ourselves, but disconnect from our community, and not feeling part of a whole, not feeling part of a family, or even if you're part of a family, it's not fulfilling to make you feel at home. So this is the beginning. And then I realized if you have family secrets, and everybody has, right?
Yes.
And if you don't have the truth about who you are, and you kind of try to make up this story, this narrative about yourself, but some very important piece is missing from that narrative, then you again feel some emptiness, something's not matching up right. And so that's where I started. And there is a big secret in her life that she's about to find. And at the end, is she going to feel fulfilled finally? We don't know. You decide.
Okay. We don't want to spoil it for the readers, definitely. But, talking about family secrets, that's the whole theme. But did you see, or did you want this family secrets also to be used as a metaphor for national histories? Some untold, some hidden, where, people, or even as a nation, people have not reconciled with it. So did you see that metaphor?
Yes, of course. This book is about Cyprus, and Cyprus is an island south of Turkey. It is an independent country, part of the European Union. It's Republic of Cyprus, it's called. And there's many ethnic groups, and majority are Greek, and the second majority, like the largest minority, is the Turkish. So the country has been, even to this day, a debate between the Turkey and Greece. And in 1974, which is the year I was born, Turkish army, because of some ethnic conflicts, occupies the northern side of the Cyprus, and for 50 years now doesn't leave that part. So it's an island divided. They say it's the last capital, Lefkoşa, is the last capital divided in Europe, or in the world, I don't remember now. Anyway, so yes, like Melike's division in the soul, her device in her psyche, is a metaphor. Her search for union, which is actually her search for union with her father, is the Cyprus's search to become one again, like resolving and getting rid of the other forces out of the way, Greece and Turkey and England and everything, and becoming one. Yes, so in a way, yes, she was my metaphor for Cyprus, or Cyprus was the metaphor for division, for divided souls that are looking for to unite and be one.
Okay, so I think like even she coming together with Petro and the way their relationship develops, it also gives us hope that, you know, as you said, that divide in the psyche is very much there between Turkey and Cyprus. And someday, like Petro and Melike, you know, they may also reconcile
that
the
you have to
differences.
read and decide, because at the end, well, we're not going to tell you. You read and see.
Yeah. I think both of us are trying very hard not to give away the story and not to take that pleasure out of it.
What I want to say, like all my books, I was just trying to summarize the book before we started this session, and I realized how difficult to summarize this book. Like I come up with very difficult plots. Like what comes one after another? How that happens? It's like a detective novel. So when you finish reading it, you're like, oh my God, yeah, this was this was this. I think I like, as a reader, books like that. So I keep writing where everything is so complex, but trust me, at the end, you understand everything. Nothing remains unknown or in the dark.
Okay, great. You know, you talk about family secrets, and now everybody has secrets, you know. But when you carry a secret, whether it's your personal or family's, it's a burden because you're carrying it. And when you reveal it finally, it can mean liberation. It can also mean self-destruction. How did Melike balance this both?
Actually, we don't know, because Melike, like a secret is revealed, and the book ends soon after that. But one thing she does, she realizes there was a story, and the story was loaded with unspoken truths about herself, her grandmother, her father, her uncle, Cyprus, like a lot of things that were not spoken. This is, you can think about at the level of your family, but you can think about at the level of your country also. What happened in Cyprus in 1974, in Turkey, we don't talk about it. Like there is an amazing curtain that we are forced not to know about it. Okay, so this was very interesting to me when I actually personally lifted the curtain and look what happened. So it's like a family secret. Your country is a family, and they keep a secret from you. And so I used both at the level of family and at the level of the country's history, how we manage to keep secrets, and how that poison us, that makes us schizophrenic. So what will Melike do is, many people ask me, why did you have a brother to Melike? Why did you have that detail? Because it kind of doesn't, did we really need to have that brother coming at the end, blah, blah. But the brother has a daughter, and the daughter is the only person Melike will transmit the story. So the idea is that she will, we don't know if she's going to find freedom or is she going to destroy herself with that, but one thing for sure, she's going to transmit the story to her niece, and her niece will continue. So it's female parts of the family, they tell the story and they get rid of the burden. They release the poison from the system. So it's in a way a message to women that your country's secrets, the poisoning secrets, will come out and will actually heal this country only if you keep telling the stories.
Yeah. On that note, that leads me to another question on, your novel talks about or throws light on how certain events or a political turmoil, when once happens, even after decades, it lingers in people's hearts, it affects their relationships. What message do you want to give the audience in terms of, how should they process this intergenerational trauma, which happens across countries.
How do I like want to give message to these people?
Yeah, how do
Or-
they process that trauma?
Well, first of all, when we write books, it is when I write books, my intention is not to give a message. It's actually, I think a message makes a bad literature. Like a good literature is something that touches you from somewhere. Maybe you transform something in you, maybe it doesn't, you know, it kind of becomes part of your memory. That I would call a good piece of literature. But I think storytelling in general is the healing of traumas. So finding out, talking to the grandparents, what happened to you. Not the story that is over and over told in the family, like, oh, we had like this great house, and no, like, what really happened? What did you lose? I think the story, fiction is the story of losers, right? History is the story of heroes. But fiction, literature, the silenced ones, the quiet ones, what did you lose? So if we talk about what we lost, that's a healing thing. From there we begin to, and again, I see heroes are usually males. Like I again see women really being active in storytelling and healing. And we are at a crossroads in our times. Like women are definitely, this next generation is inevitably are taking over control, and that's why they are beaten the most, because they're out there and they're going to take the control and power. So a lot of storytelling, a lot of not falling into the same path of the males, but finding the feminine narrative and then finding the healings through feminine narrative is the liberation.
Okay.
Maybe. And the book also, thinking that, I had, you know, there is a lot of women's issues in the books, not in terms of liberation. It's the sexiest book and it's the most feminist book. So there is, of course, sexual pleasure, there is sexual desire, but also there's menstruation, there's menopause, there's giving birth, there's choosing to be a mother, not choosing to be a mother, and all those things that kind of is a big part of our lives as women, but never talked about in books. I wanted to put them out there too.
Yeah. You said fiction is not about giving a message, but because especially this particular novel has a backdrop of political turmoil, conflict. As a journalist, we write about conflict, and when media or newspapers write about it, we rationalize it. But do you think fiction or fiction writers like you has a role to humanize these conflicts and the victims who are at the front lines of these conflicts?
Well, two things. One, if your country is hiding a secret, literature is a good way to talk about it, because it's not manifesto, it's not propaganda, it's opening a space, telling the story, and hoping that the reader will have empathy to understand and maybe a shift in perspective. Okay? The other thing is that, actually the other thing is this space of empathy, if you can open, and then once they have like a shift of perspective, I never thought about Cyprus in this, like the curtain lifts, you see the truth, and then you feel empathy, then your world is richer, you're like more a comprehensive person, you're embracing the humanity more. And that's, I think, in the era of polarization, the only cure is the space of empathy. And I find literature being a fiction, being a wonderful tool for that. Nothing else can give us, like you read news, you read social media, you feel very bad, you get angry, you go through, but they go away. Whereas you spend a month with this book, or any book, 2 months, 3 months, they're with you night and day, you go to sleep, you see them in your dreams, you talk about them, or you're talking about something else, but you're thinking about them. Okay, they stay with you much longer. It's not like a news. So maybe the news will bring you a terrible sense of, what's the word, helplessness. Oh my God, what am I going to do in this world? But this one brings you a cure, a healing space. Again, healing, back to that.
Yeah. you know, this whole travel and the seeking that she does through this book is seeking her identity and also trying to heal both at the same time. Coming back to the question of displacement and conflict that we see around us now, whether it's in Gaza, whether it's in Ukraine, whether it's in Sudan, we see through your novel that, you know, through a political turmoil, identities come unravel and that they struggle with it post-crisis. How do you think people who are, you know, on the front lines of conflict at the moment, how will that impact their identities in the coming years or decades? How would they come out of it? Will they ever?
Well, the first generations, they don't come out of it. The first generations are destroyed. Like the ones who are living through it right now, the ones in Gaza, the ones in Ukraine, the ones in Sudan, they're destroyed. I mean, there is no healing for them anymore because the damage is unbelievable. Their children will hide this. Their grandchildren will reveal it. That's how it goes. We know it from the beginning of the 20th century. Balkan Wars, First World War, you know, more wars, and then the ones who went through the genocides and massacres and displacements never talked about it. Children, they never learned about it. Us, the grandchildren, we now bring them out. I think that's what's going to happen to the ones who are immensely suffering at this moment as we speak.
Yeah, and I think storytellers have to keep telling those
Yes.
stories.
Yeah.
On that note, I would love to open the questions to the audience. Please raise your hand and tell us your name before you ask the question, please.
Hello.
Hello. I really enjoyed the book. I want to ask you about your intention of writing the character in such, you know, constricted forms of duality, right? From being emotionally and morally ambiguous, right? But Malika starts out as someone who's very self-centered and flippant and kind of an unbearable character, and then halfway through the book, as each and every layer gets peeled away, she flips into someone who's emotionally and morally developed, but still ambiguous and still gray and still in a form of like, in a way that women are not really accepted anywhere else, right? It's shown like the complexity of it. What was the consciousness behind how you wrote the character? Because the story flows in a very linear sense, but your character drastically develops and changes and molds into so many different forms.
Yeah, I mean, that's why men don't like Melike as a character. My husband hated her. You know, there's like, she's like, I can't take this Melike anymore. But that's part of who we are. You know, we change. We're not a linear character that grow consistently. And that's what we have our fights with our husbands the most, with our partners. Like, you said this yesterday, now you're saying this yesterday, and you're going to say this tomorrow. Like, change is part of being who we are. Not only females, male and female. If we embrace our fluid character, we feel actually much free in that way. Like trying to stick into one character, actually you asked that and I was going to say that, trying to stick to one persona that is created by ourselves or by our mom or dad and she's that kind of a person is very tiring. So Melike was a very powerful novel character. She dictated me also, like I couldn't resist her. She said, I want to go swimming with Petro, and then I want to be angry at him. And then I want to be like, and I don't want to see him. And then next day I want to sleep with him. And then, you know, she was like that. And I said, okay. And I keep writing. And I really enjoyed her. She's very different from me. She's crazy. So I like to be with her. And I hope you, the readers, like to be with like one crazy woman. She's the granddaughter of Safinaz, who is actually not super linear and rational either.
Hi, thank you for the session. I read all your books and I absolutely admire them.
Thank you.
So I've got two questions for you. So your narrative sort of foreground the genocidal violence that influences not just one particular generation, but it is transferred to the forthcoming generations. So history in that sense haunts your characters. So are you as an author also haunted by these censored histories?
I guess so. Why am I like continuously writing the same thing, right? But the thing that I don't know what's haunting me. This is something I should go deep, look into my ancestral lands and see what's going on. But if something is, if a writer, if an author is writing again and again and again the same subjects, definitely something is inside, you know, asking her to write those. So I say yes.
My second question is, I'm not very sure about the political affairs of the Turkish government, but I think Turkey has not claimed responsibility for the Greek genocide. So my question is, as an author, and you've spoken about the power of literature, but have you dealt with criticisms and harshness by people who try to hide the truth? Like, I think it was Orhan Pamuk who tried to talk about the Armenian genocide, and he faced a lot of criticism for that. So have you encountered any such criticisms from people?
Not yet. I'm not that famous. No. The reason for that, I think, not because I don't touch those subjects, it's because I'm a woman and my books are read by women. Okay, so very few male readers go and buy a book, a sexy book from a female writer, okay? So women are not going to go and criticize. Usually it's the male readers that go crazy, like she's insulting us, da 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 da. That's what Orhan Pamuk has, of course, a lot of readers, male and female, so he's under more threat. I'm still protected in my little corner with my female readers.
I'm sorry if I have disappoint you if you have more questions. We have just run out of time. Thank you so much, Defne, for trying
Thank
to
you,
heal our wounds.
everyone. I
Yeah.
want to show two things, two books. That is in Malayalam. I have 3 Malayalam books, which is like the mostly like I have other Indian languages too, but in Kerala I have 3 of my books translated. So this is the last one, only the first foreign language. Okay, this is the last apartment in Istanbul. You know, summer heat. And this one is at the breakfast table. Yeah.
So thank you so much. Please do pick up the copies, and she's available if you want to get them signed on the sidelines. Thank you for being a wonderful audience.